Just as a reminder guys, I live in Canada. Don't let the accent fool you. Always abide by your local laws and regulations.
Hi guys, welcome back to My Dank Dog. If you're new to the channel or haven't yet subscribed, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, leaving a comment, any tips, tricks and advice. I do appreciate all of the feedback. You can also follow me on X and Instagram at My Dank Dog, and I try to post there pretty much daily. In this episode, we're going to be rounding up the Lucky 13 accidental cup grow that turned out to be pretty awesome. Let's get into it. As a quick reminder guys, you can save up to 15% off site-wide at VIVOSUN.com and Amazon stores using my code MyDankDog. The details are in the description below. A lot of you guys have been messaging me, asking me when I'm going to be putting this quantum flux power meter from Apogee to good use. I've already been using it on a recent grow, so stay tuned for that. But also the VGrow 101 series that I've been posting on Instagram in collaboration with VIVOSUN has just come to an end. I got a ton of frequently asked questions on that series, so I've decided to do an expanded VGrow 101 coming soon. One of the first things we'll be going over is the light breakdown inside the VGrow. This has been one of the main questions that you guys have been asking me, if I could just give some breakdown of the light inside the VGrow. So that's going to be the first episode coming very soon. Stay tuned for that. Below are the two channels that I'm going to be sending out these zigzag trays to that I picked up from MJ BizCon back in December. I've actually got another 2 trays I can give away, so if any of you guys want one, leave a comment in the section below and I'll announce it in the next video. In this episode, we're going to be taking a final look at the Lucky 13 clone from Exotic Genetics that I grew in one of these 16-ounce bud cups in a mix of 70% cocoa and 30% perlite using advanced nutrients pH perfect range. I tried to keep the pH within a good manageable range of 5.9 to 6.1, and I brought the dosages down of the nutrients probably to about 2/3, making sure that the ppms were never too high. Even when I got into flower, the ppms never went over 1000. This is a clone from the topped Lucky 13, and as you can see, I'd basically put it into a peat puck until the roots started to show, and then I repotted it into a 16-ounce bud cup in a mix of 70% cocoa and 30% perlite, just to kind of get those roots boosted and going in the right direction. I also used mycorrhizal inoculant. I pretty much use mycorrhizal inoculant in all of my grows now, not just if I'm doing clones. It's a great way to help those roots uptake nutrients, and I find that it's probably one of the best things that I've added to all of my grows. Once she was successfully repotted into her new home, I started to feed her small amounts on a regular basis with very low dose nutrients, about 0.5 ml per litre of advanced nutrients, micro and grow. Also for the first week I used a humidity dome just to see that growth up top, which also meant that the roots were doing really well below, and I'm sure that the mycorrhizal inoculant had really helped her uptake nutrients in her new space and let her kind of pack on some of this weight. So the humidity dome had definitely helped, but also that mycorrhizal inoculant around her roots had boosted her too. She was looking way healthier. It's crazy just how fast these ladies can kind of bounce back from really harsh conditions once they've got a little bit more kind of love, care and attention given them, and obviously some more space for their roots to grow as well. So really happy with how she was doing, but I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with that. I'd only cloned her to see if I could do a clone. I didn't want to grow another full-sized Lucky 13. I wasn't sure whether I was going to do training, but I do know that I had no intention to do a 16-ounce cup grow. I have learned a hell of a lot from doing cup grows in the past. They're kind of fun, but kind of tricky as well. But basically, I'd left her in her cup in between these mother plants, both Exotic Genetics Lucky 13s that I was doing some mainline training on, and I headed off to Mary Jane Berlin for about 2 weeks. I'd put them on flip and I had a plant sitter while I was away with the instructions to make sure that they were fed, gave them all of the premixed nutrients for while I was away, and basically kind of forgot about these ladies and the cup that I had left in between them. I wasn't expecting to see the results I had when I got back from Mary Jane Berlin, which kind of blew my mind. But they are living plants and they are here to surprise us every freaking time you do a grow. So about 9 days later, I came back to this. Both of the mother plants had already gone and flipped and started to kind of really pack on some size. The Lucky 13 strain is a very stretchy plant, so be warned, if you are gonna grow a Lucky 13, be prepared for a huge stretch, but I wasn't expecting it to be this big, as you can see. Now, the cup was hidden away in between these two ladies, and it had also stretched and flipped as well. I took her out of the main tent and added a support stick to keep her upright and let her chill out in a V-grow for a week or so, just so I could kind of like absorb that I'd grown this accidentally awesome, really kind of tall clone in a 16-ounce cup. It was not my intention, but as you can see in the measurements in the back, she was about 70 centimeters tall when I got back from Mary Jane Berlin. So I had this accidentally pretty damn awesome clone in a cup, and I decided that I was going to take it right the way through to the end. Approximately 2 or 3 weeks later, she was looking absolutely fantastic. She was growing really, really well. No real signs of any deficiencies. I was basically feeding her 2 or 3 times a day until the runoff came through her 16-ounce cup into a cup below, and then I was letting her feed on her runoff. I was surprised by how well she was doing. She was basically looking as healthy as the mother plants. Really, really, really blowing my mind. Not just how tall she was or how healthy she looked, but how little effort I had put in to this plant looking awesome. In the past, when I've done cup grows, I've put a lot of effort into them, and this one was beating all of them. So she was fantastic, but a lot of it had nothing to do with me. I spread out my feedings of advanced nutrients pH perfect to about 2 to 3 times a day. I was using micro, grow, bloom. I'd also started to use big bud candy. I was using CalMag or SensiCal, and also adding some Revive in there as well. The ppm was approximately 900 to 1000. It never really went over 1000, and the pH was still in the range of 5.9 to 6.1. So I was kind of playing everything safe, and she was just responding really well. The dosage comes into about 2/3 of the recommended dosage on the back of the advanced nutrients packaging, so it's a good guide if you're thinking of doing something similar. After about 6 weeks, you could really start to notice the smell. I would describe it somewhere in between kind of like an old gym trainer or sneaker, depending on where you're from. So kind of cat's pissy ammonia with a bit of like fruity puke and disinfectant. So if you can imagine somebody had drank some cat's piss and a fruity liqueur and some disinfectant and then puked it up, that's kind of the smell I was getting from her. After 7 weeks of flower, you can see she was really starting to stack on some weight on that top main bud there. It was really, really just amazing just to watch how she was growing, because she was so kind of tall and slender, but had really, really nice buds growing. Now, obviously, it's very hard to keep these ladies alive in such a small, confined space, such as a 16-ounce bud cup, but look how tall she is. She's over 80 centimeters in height and looking pretty damn healthy. There is some signs of lightening leaves. She's definitely got some burnt tips here and there as well, which is a complete given if you're going to try and do a cup grow. It's not easy to keep them nice and healthy, especially when they do go into flower, because they do demand a different regime of nutrients. So this is definitely where it starts to get tricky as you're trying to get it past veg and into its maturity towards harvesting. There's a lot that can go wrong. Obviously, most of those issues are going to come from the condition of the roots in such a confined space. The roots are growing very, very vigorously in a normal condition and try to fill out a pot. But obviously you've got a little 16-ounce cup here, so you do run the risk of it becoming root bound. And if those roots do kind of get clumped up and clogged up and root bound in that pot, then they're not going to be able to uptake nutrients, and you're going to start to see signs of deficiencies. So I'm really surprised at how little maintenance I'm putting into this lady. She's doing her own thing regardless of me. I'm just along for the ride, feeding her 2 to 3 times a day, and she just kind of has the will to survive. It's amazing just how well she's doing. If we fast forward to 10 weeks of flower, we're really getting into the late stages of her life cycle. You can start to see the senescence coming into the leaves there. They're turning yellow and orange and red. We're really pushing it to the final kind of stages of her life. So this is great because I know that I'm actually going to harvest this. I can see that she's basically going to make it right to the end. She is starting to look pretty stressed, but she is going into her old age. So none of that is a surprise to me. This is going to be pretty much the easiest cup grow that I've done. Honestly, if you've done a cup grow in the past, you'll know what I'm talking about. They are very tricky, very difficult, but this has been almost kind of hands off. As long as I fed her 2 to 3 times a day and checked in on her and made sure everything was good with her feeding, she did the rest. I really didn't have to put that much effort into the growing of this lady at all. So really, really pleased the way she came out. Again, not intentional. She was just accidentally awesome, especially when you check out the size of a cola in comparison to this can of Fanta. She was pretty damn thick. So yeah, realistically, if you've ever done a cup grow, they are fantastic to teach you about growing conditions, but I've never had one as easy as this. So I can't really take full credit for how cool she turned out. Pretty much, I think this lady had the will to survive regardless of how she was going to grow. So it's amazing just how strong these plants are. If you've grown certain plants, you know that you become kind of attached to plants in a very kind of weird way, and it is kind of sad when you know that you have to chop them down, but it was her time. All of her bits and bobs were ready to move on to the next stage. She was mostly cloudy. The amber was in there as well, and I knew that it was time to give her the chop and crop, hang her up, dry her out, give her a final trim and weigh her in. So I made the executive decision that it was time to actually snip this lady, which was pretty straightforward. Her main stem or stalk there wasn't that thick, so she didn't put up that much resistance, just one little snip there, and I was ready to hang her as is. I was really eager to take a proper look at the roots there because none of them had popped out of the bottom of the bud cup, so I was eager just to kind of look in there and see what those roots looked like. But there we go, she was snipped and ready to hang up. And again, I wasn't going to trim off any of the leaves, I was just going to hang her as is. You can get a real good kind of idea of just how tall she is, almost 85 centimeters in height. Crazy. And that top bud is absolutely awesome. You can actually feel the weight on her as I'm holding her like this. So really eager just to kind of dry her out and see what she actually tastes like as well. Definitely one for the books. A lot of character in this lady. I do think that it was a strong strain from the beginning and probably a really good choice if you guys want to try a cup grow. But I also find that clones seem to be way stronger than growing from beans as well. So I think maybe the fact that she was a clone and that she had really good genetics has added to her growth and how cool she grew overall. But realistically, I didn't do much to craft her in any way. I literally fed her 2 to 3 times a day with ppms in flower of about 900 to 1000, pH of 5.9 to 6.1, and the rest was all her. So easy grow overall, a very easy cup grow. If we take a look at the roots, this is even more mind-blowing because they don't seem to have filled the entire cup space as well. I mean, obviously they don't look very healthy, but I'm kind of blown away that they didn't even fill up the entire space in the cup. So a very unusual plant. I hung her up to dry in the tent with the lights out for about 10 days. Obviously she didn't have that much mass on her, so there wasn't much to dry out. I didn't trim anything. I just left her as is, and pretty much it was a done deal after, I'd say, about a week, but I gave the extra 3 days just to make sure that she was fully dried through. And then I decided to cure her with her stalks and leaves on in a grove bag for another 4 weeks. So I dried her out for 10 days, then I put her in a grove bag with everything still attached for another 4 weeks. When it came to trimming, I removed all of those leaves and stalks. I was left with these nutty log looking buds that actually turned out to be the smoothest tasting buds I've had from any of my cup grows. There was a mild bit of fruit in there, or something floral, and a lot of kind of pastry in there. So overall, very happy with the grow, very happy with the final yield, even though it's not so big. After a trim, it came in at 33.4 grams, which is just under 1.2 ounces. Guys, if you've got any questions on this grow, please put them in the comments section below. I do appreciate all of your feedback, advice, tips and tricks, so keep it coming. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.